The gun pressed against Sophia Chen's temple was cold, colder than the November rain, hammering the pavement outside the 24-hour convenience store where she'd stopped to buy instant noodles after her double shift. She could smell the gunman's cheap cologne mixed with cigarette smoke and desperation. Could feel his hand shaking as he gripped her shoulder, using her body as a shield between himself and the two police officers shouting commands from behind their squad car doors. This wasn't how Sophia had imagined her Thursday night ending. She'd survived 12 hours at the diner, survived Mr. Patterson's wandering hands and Mrs. Kim's terrible tips and the grease burns that decorated her forearms like ugly bracelets. She'd counted her cash 3 times on the bus ride home, calculating that she was exactly $47 short of making rent, and had decided that instant noodles for the next 4 days would bridge that gap. Simple math. Simple survival. And now this man with his shaking hands and his cold gun had turned her simple life into a hostage situation. Put the weapon down, one officer was shouting, but his voice seemed to come from very far away, like Sophia was underwater, drowning in her own fear. The gunman yelled something back, his voice cracking with panic. His finger twitched on the trigger. Sophia closed her eyes. She thought about her little sister Maya, who was probably asleep in their shared bed right now, who had no idea that Sophia might not come home, who still believed their dead mother was watching over them from heaven. Sophia had stopped believing in heaven the day she dropped out of college to work 3 jobs, but in this moment, with death breathing on her neck, she found herself praying anyway. Please, she thought. Please, not like this. Maya needs me. Please. The gunman took a step backward, dragging Sophia with him. Her sneaker caught on the edge of the curb and she stumbled. The gun shifted, pressing harder against her skull, and she heard him curse, heard the hammer click back, heard her own heart hammering so loud it drowned out everything else. And then a car came out of nowhere. Not a police car. A black sedan with tinted windows that seemed to materialize from the rain. Itself, moving fast, too fast, hydroplaning slightly as it cut between Sophia and the officers. The back door flew open and someone shouted in rapid Korean. Sophia didn't speak Korean, but she understood the tone, urgent, commanding, the voice of someone used to being obeyed. The gunman's grip loosened for just a fraction of a second, his attention diverted, and Sophia did something she'd seen in movies but never imagined doing in real life. She dropped her full body weight, slipping down through his arms, and threw herself forward onto the wet pavement. Pain exploded through her knees and palms, but she kept moving, crawling, scrambling toward the shelter of a parked car. Gunshots cracked the night air. Sophia screamed and pressed herself flat against the ground, her cheek against the cold concrete, her whole body shaking so violently she thought she might vibrate apart. More shots. Shouting in Korean and English and languages she didn't recognize. Screeching tires. The smell of burnt rubber and gunpowder. And then silence. Not complete silence. There were still sirens wailing in the distance, still rain falling, still her own ragged breathing, but the chaos had stopped as suddenly as it had started. Sophia lifted her head slowly, expecting to see bodies, blood, the aftermath of violence she'd only witnessed on television screens. Instead, she saw the black sedan idling at the curb, back door still open. The gunman was gone. The police were gone. Everything had shifted while she'd had her face pressed to the pavement. And now there was just the car and the rain and a woman's voice speaking softly in Korean from inside the vehicle. Please, the voice said, switching to accented English. Please, you must come. Not safe. Sophia's legs wouldn't work. She tried to stand, but her muscles had turned to water, to nothing, and she stayed crouched behind the parked car, shaking, unable to process what had just happened. Please. The voice was more urgent now. Police will have questions. Media will come. Your face will be everywhere. The man who took you, he works for very dangerous people. They will find you. They will think you saw something. Please, you must come with me now. That penetrated the fog of shock. Sophia's brain kicked back into gear, survival instinct overriding terror. The woman was right. She'd seen the gunman's face, had been close enough to smell his breath. If he worked for dangerous people, if this was bigger than a random robbery, she was a witness. A liability. She pushed herself to her feet, her scraped palms screaming in protest, and stumbled toward the sedan. Her body moved on autopilot, climbing into the back seat before her conscious mind could fully agree to this insane decision. The door slammed shut behind her, and the car was already moving, gliding away from the crime scene with the smooth efficiency of a shark through dark water. Sophia found herself sitting next to an elderly Korean woman who looked like she should be someone's sweet grandmother, all soft wrinkles and gentle eyes. Except for the way she held herself, ramrod straight, radiating an authority that had nothing to do with age and everything to do with power. The woman was clutching her left side, and even in the dim interior of the car, Sophia could see the dark stain spreading across her silk blouse. "You're bleeding," Sophia heard herself say, her voice distant and strange in her own ears. "Yes," the woman replied calmly, as if acknowledging that the sky was blue or water was wet. "Is not serious. The bullet went through." She smiled, actually smiled while blood seeped between her fingers. "My name is Margaret Huang. You saved my life tonight. I didn't do anything. I was just trying not to die." "Exactly." Margaret's smile widened. "You could have frozen. Could have made him more desperate. Instead, you dropped, you moved, you created the opening my driver needed to intervene. You are very brave." "I'm not brave. I'm terrified." Sophia looked down at her hands, saw them shaking, saw the blood on her palms mixing with rainwater. What just happened? Who was that man? Why did you? Why are you? Who are you? Margaret studied her for a long moment, her dark eyes seeing too much, understanding things Sophia hadn't said. "I am someone who has lived a very complicated life. And that man was sent to kill me. A message from people who believe they can frighten my family into surrender." She pressed harder against her wound. "They have made a grave miscalculation." The car turned down a street Sophia didn't recognize, heading away from her neighborhood, away from everything familiar. Panic spiked again. "Where are we going? I need to get home. My sister, she's alone, she'll worry." "Your sister Maya is 14, yes? Home alone because you work late shifts to pay for an apartment you can barely afford." Margaret's voice was kind, but the words landed like stones. "Know about you, Sophia-chan. I have known about you for 3 months." The world tilted. "That's impossible. We've never met. I don't know you." "No, but you know my grandson." Margaret leaned forward slightly, wincing with the movement. 3 months ago, you found him unconscious in the alley behind your diner. Someone had beaten him badly, left him to die. You could have walked past. Most people would have. Instead, you called an ambulance. You stayed with him until it arrived. You gave a false name and disappeared before anyone could question you. Because you have an outstanding warrant for unpaid traffic tickets and cannot afford to interact with police. Sophia's mouth went dry. She remembered that night, remembered the man crumpled against the dumpster, remembered the blood pooling under his head, remembered making the call and then running because she couldn't risk arrest, couldn't risk leaving Maya alone if she ended up in jail over $200 in tickets she couldn't pay. She'd thought about that man for weeks afterward, wondered if he'd survived, hated herself for not staying to find out. "He lived," Margaret said, reading her face. "Thanks to you. And when he discovered who had saved him, he told me, 'Find that woman,' he said. 'I owe her a debt. In our family, debts are sacred. So I found you. I learned about you. And I have been waiting for the right moment to repay what you are owed. I don't want anything. I just did what anyone should do. But most people do not." Margaret reached out with her uninjured hand and took Sophia's scraped palm, her touch gentle despite the strength in her grip. "Most people walk past suffering. Most people protect themselves first. You are different. You act with your heart. This is rare. This is valuable." She paused. "This is exactly what my grandson needs." The car pulled into an underground parking garage, descending into darkness, deeper and deeper until they reached a private level with only a handful of vehicles, all of them expensive, all of them black. The driver, a young man with a scar across his jaw and cold, efficient eyes, opened Margaret's door and helped her out carefully. He spoke to her in Korean, his tone urgent, probably telling her she needed a hospital, but Margaret waved him off and gestured for Sophia to follow. They took a private elevator that required both a key card and a fingerprint scan. Margaret leaned heavily against the wall as they ascended, her face pale but her eyes still sharp, still watching Sophia with that unnerving intensity. "I don't understand what's happening," Sophia whispered. "From me. Please just tell me what you want. I want to give you a choice," Margaret replied. "But first, I need to introduce you to someone. I want to offer you a chance to change your life." The elevator doors opened directly into a penthouse apartment that looked like it had been ripped from an architecture magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the glittering city skyline. Modern art hung on walls painted in shades of cream and gray. Everything screamed money, the kind of money Sophia had only ever seen from the outside, serving people who inhabited this world, but never imagining she could touch it herself. And standing in the center of this impossible luxury was a man who made Sophia's breath catch in her throat for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with the kind of build that came from disciplined training rather than casual gym visits. His black hair was styled back from a face that belonged on magazine covers, all sharp cheekbones and intense eyes and a mouth set in a grim line that suggested her rarely smiled. He wore all black, dress shirt and slacks that probably cost more than Sophia's monthly rent. And when he turned to face them, she saw the tattoos that crawled up the left side of his neck, intricate designs in black ink that disappeared beneath his collar, dragons and flowers and symbols she didn't recognize. He was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure, and when his eyes locked on Sophia, she felt pinned in place like a butterfly on a board. Then his gaze shifted to his grandmother, to the blood on her clothes, and his entire demeanor changed. He moved toward them with fluid speed, speaking in rapid Korean, his voice tight with controlled fury. Margaret responded in the same language, her tone soothing, one hand on his arm. They argued briefly while Sophia stood frozen in the doorway, feeling like she'd stumbled into a movie, like none of this could possibly be real. Finally, Margaret switched back to English, probably for Sophia's benefit. "Enough, Vincent. I am fine. The bullet passed through cleanly. Dr. Park is already on his way." She gestured toward Sophia. "This is Sophia Chun, the woman who saved your life 3 months ago. And tonight she saved mine as well." Vincent's attention swung back to Sophia, and the intensity of his gaze made her want to step backward, to run, to escape whatever judgment she saw forming behind those dark eyes. But she forced herself to stand still, to meet his stare, to not show the fear that was screaming through her nervous system. "You," he said, his voice low and rough, speaking English with barely a trace of accent. "The one from the alley. You're. I just called an ambulance. That's all." "That's all?" Something flickered across his face, might have been amusement or anger or something else entirely. "You saved my life and didn't even stay to receive thanks. You disappeared like a ghost. Do you have any idea how long I searched for you? I couldn't stay. I had reasons. Yes. Outstanding warrants. Fear of police. A sister who depends on you." He moved closer and Sophia's heart rate kicked up. "I know everything about you, Sophia Chun. Where you work. Where you live. How much debt you carry. What you eat for breakfast. I have known for 3 months. And I have been deciding what to do about the debt I owe you. You don't owe me anything. I don't want anything from you. It does not matter what you want." His voice was soft but absolute. "In my world, debts must be paid. Honor demands it. And you have earned a debt from me and from my grandmother. That makes you either very lucky or very cursed. I have not yet decided which." Margaret made a sound that might have been a laugh or a cough. "This is not how we repay kindness." "Vincent, you are frightening." "Kindness?" Vincent's eyes never left Sophia's face. Is that what this was? Kindness? Or was it instinct? An inability to walk past suffering even when doing so would have been safer, smarter, more logical. He tilted his head slightly. "Tell me, Sophia Chun, do you regret your choices? The alley 3 months ago? Tonight at the convenience store when you could have stayed hidden behind that car?" Sophia thought about the question, really thought about it. Did she regret trying to save people? Did she wish she'd been more selfish, more focused on her own survival? The answer came easily. No, she said, lifting her chin. I don't regret it. Maybe I should, but I don't. Those were people who needed help. What kind of person walks away from that? Most people, Vincent replied. Sensible people. People who understand that the world is cruel, and helping others only paints a target on your back. He stepped even closer, so close she could see the fine details of his neck tattoos, could smell his cologne, expensive and subtle. But you are not sensible, are you? You are reckless, foolishly brave, and now you are in danger because of it. What do you mean? The man at the convenience store, the one who took you hostage, he was not a random criminal. He was an assassin sent by a rival organization to kill my grandmother. When you interfered, when you created the opening for our intervention, you became a witness. More than that, you became connected to us. And in my world, connections are weapons that enemies will exploit. The words sank in slowly, each one adding weight to the crushing realization of what Sophia had stumbled into. You're saying I'm in danger because I helped? Yes. No apology, just cold fact. Then put me in witness protection or something. Get me and Maya somewhere safe and we'll disappear. You'll never hear from us again. It is not that simple. Margaret had moved to a chair and was lowering herself into it carefully, her face gray with pain but her voice still strong. The people who want my family destroyed, they have resources, connections. They will find you wherever you run. Witness protection is designed for criminals who cooperate with police, not for civilians caught in gang warfare. Gång var fara? Sophia's voice pitched up. What are you people? Vincent's smile was sharp and humorless. We are exactly what you fear we are. And now, whether you wanted it or not, you are part of our world. Sophia's legs finally gave out. She sank onto the nearest piece of furniture, which happened to be a leather couch that probably cost more than her yearly salary, and pressed her scraped palms against her face. This couldn't be happening. She'd gone to buy noodles. Just noodles. And now she was sitting in a penthouse with a bleeding grandmother, and her terrifyingly beautiful grandson who was telling her she'd accidentally walked into some kind of organized crime. Nightmare. I need to call Maya, she said through her fingers. She'll panic. She'll wake up and I won't be there and already handled, Vincent said, and when Sophia looked up he was holding out a phone. Not her phone, which was probably still somewhere near that convenience store, but a sleek black device that looked like it had been designed by people who took security very seriously. Call her. Tell her you had to cover an emergency shift. Tell her you'll be home in the morning. Do not tell her where you are. Do not tell her what happened. Sophia took the phone with shaking hands. Maya answered on the second ring, her voice thick with sleep. Hello. Hey baby girl. It's me. Soph. Whose number is this? Are you okay? I'm fine. I had to cover an emergency shift at the restaurant across town. The owner's phone died, so I'm using his. I just wanted to let you know I won't be home until morning. There was a pause. Maya was 14, but she was smart, too smart, and she could read Sophia's moods even through phone lines. You sound weird. Are you sure you're okay? Just tired. Long night. Listen, make sure all the locks are secure, okay? And don't answer the door for anyone. You're scaring me. Don't be scared. I'm being paranoid. You know how I get. Sophia forced a smile into her voice, even though tears were burning behind her eyes. I love you. Go back to sleep. Love you too. Be safe. The call ended and Sophia sat there holding the phone, staring at the blank screen, trying to figure out how she was going to keep that promise. How could she be safe when she'd apparently become a target for people who sent assassins after old women? Your sister is being watched, Vincent said, and Sophia's head snapped up. Not by enemies. By my people. I have 3 of my best positioned around your building. If anyone suspicious approaches, they will intervene. You can't just put guards on my sister without asking me. I can and I did. His tone left no room for argument. Would you prefer I left her unprotected? That I waited until our enemies discovered where you live and used her against you? Sophia wanted to argue, wanted to rage about boundaries and consent, and the fact that he was making decisions about her life without permission, but the terrifying truth was that he was right. If she was really in danger, then Maya was too, and Sophia would swallow her pride, would accept help from the devil himself, if it meant keeping her sister safe. Thank you, she said quietly, hating how small her voice sounded. Do not thank me yet. Vincent moved to a cabinet and poured something amber into a crystal glass. He downed it in one swallow, then poured another. You do not understand the full scope of what has happened tonight. You think this is about you being a witness to an assassination attempt. It is much more complicated than that. A door opened and a man in a doctor's coat hurried in, carrying a medical bag. He went straight to Margaret and began speaking to her in Korean while examining her wound. Margaret bore his ministrations with stoic patience, only wincing slightly when he cleaned the injury. Vincent watched his grandmother with an expression that Sophia couldn't quite read. Worry. Definitely. Anger simmering underneath. But also something deeper, something that looked almost like fear, though she suspected this man didn't allow himself to feel fear very often. Tell me what's complicated, Sophia said. Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old because I'm exhausted and terrified and I can't process subtext right now. Vincent turned back to her, and for the first time, his expression softened slightly. Not much, just enough that she could see the human underneath the cold exterior. The organization that sent the assassin tonight, they are called the Red Phoenix Syndicate. They have been trying to take over our territory for 3 years. My grandmother and I, we control the docks, the imports, the distribution networks that keep this city functioning. The Red Phoenix want what we have. They have tried negotiation. They have tried bribery. They have tried intimidation. Nothing has worked. So now they have escalated to assassination. And I got in the way. You did more than get in the way. He set down his glass and moved closer, sitting on the coffee table directly in front of her, so they were eye to level. When you helped my grandmother escape tonight, when our driver saw you create the opening, saw you risk yourself for a stranger, it was captured on multiple security cameras. The Red Phoenix will have that footage by now. They will analyze it. They will see a black woman, early 20s, working class based on your uniform, putting herself in danger to save an elderly Korean woman she does not know. Do you understand what that tells them? Sophia shook her head, too tired to guess. It tells them you are important to us. It tells them we care about you. Because why else would a random stranger risk her life? They will assume you are connected to our organization. Maybe a Loa. Maybe an informant. Maybe just someone we have decided to protect. It does not matter what the truth is. What matters is what they believe. The implications crashed over Sophia like ice water. Something, but because they think hurting me will hurt you. So they'll come after me. Not because I saw. Exactly. Vincent's eyes held hers. And they would be correct. But I'm nobody. I'm just a waitress. Hurting me won't accomplish anything. It would accomplish everything. Margaret's voice cut through the conversation. The doctor had finished bandaging her wound and was packing up his supplies, muttering disapprovingly in Korean. It would show that we cannot protect those under our care. It would make us look weak. And in our world, perception of weakness is death. Sophia stood up abruptly, needing to move, needing to do something with the nervous energy crackling through her body. She paced to the windows and stared out at the city lights, at the world that had seemed so simple just a few hours ago. This is insane. I can't. I have a life. I have responsibilities. I can't just disappear into your world of gang warfare and protection. Details. You do not have a choice, Vincent said, and there was something in his voice now, something almost gentle. Your old life ended the moment you helped my grandmother. I am sorry. I wish it were different. But wishing changes nothing. So what happens now? I just live here? In this penthouse? Like some kind of prisoner? Not a prisoner. Margaret had stood up, ignoring the doctor's protests, and was walking toward them with careful steps. A guest. A protected person. And if you are willing, something more. Sophia turned to face her. What do you mean, something more? Margaret exchanged a look with Vincent, some silent communication passing between them. Vincent's jaw tightened and he shook his head slightly, but Margaret ignored him and continued speaking. In our culture, in the organizations that control the underground economy of this city, family is everything. Blood ties are sacred. And the strongest protection, the most unbreakable shield is marriage. The word hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Absolutely not, Vincent said, his voice sharp. She did not ask for this. Grandmother, we discussed this. It is too much. She did not ask for any of this. Margaret replied calmly. The cleanest solution. But we are where we are. And this is. Sophia looked between them, her brain struggling to catch up. Marriage? Are you suggesting? Are you actually suggesting that I marry someone to, what, protect me? That's medieval. That's insane. It is practical. Margaret's gaze was steady. If you marry my grandson, you become family, untouchable by the codes that govern our world. The Red Phoenix would not dare harm you, because doing so would violate every agreement, every treaty, every understanding that keeps this city from descending into open warfare. You would have protection that goes beyond guards and security systems. You would have the protection of law, both the law of this country and the older laws that men like Vincent still honor. I'm not marrying a stranger. I'm not marrying anyone. That's not, I can't just know. Sophia heard her voice rising but couldn't control it. This is crazy. You're all crazy. I saved your lives because it was the right thing to do, not because I wanted to marry into the mob. We are not the mob, Vincent said quietly. Complicated. We are something older. Something more. I don't care what you call yourselves. The answer is no. Find another way to protect me. Put me in a safe house. Give me a new identity. I don't know, fake my death. Anything but this. Those solutions are temporary, Margaret said. A safe house can be found. A new identity can be uncovered. And faking your death would require leaving your sister behind, unless you plan to fake her death as well. Is that what you want? To abandon Maya? To let her grow up thinking you are gone? The mention of Maya was a direct hit. Sophia felt tears threatening and blinked them back. Furiously. That's not fair. You can't use my sister against me. I am not using her against you. I am showing you reality. Your sister needs you. You need protection. My grandson needs. Margaret paused, choosing her words carefully. My grandson needs someone who sees him as human instead of weapon. This arrangement would benefit everyone. I don't even know him. Sophia gestured at Vincent, who was standing rigidly by the window now, his back to them, tension radiating from every line of his body. I pulled him out of an alley 3 months ago. I don't know his favorite color or his birthday or what he likes for breakfast. How can you expect me to marry someone I don't know? You knew him well enough to save his life, Margaret said. Twice now you have put yourself in danger for my family without knowing us. Perhaps that is all you need to know. That's not how marriage works. That's not how any of this works. Vincent turned around suddenly, and the expression on his face stopped Sophia's protests. He looked tired, she realized. Beneath the cold exterior and the expensive clothes and the dangerous tattoos, he looked profoundly exhausted. She is right, grandmother. We cannot force this. Find another solution. There is no other solution that guarantees her safety. Then we will do our best with what we have. Vincent's eyes met Sophia's. I will not trap you in a marriage you do not want. I will provide protection for you and your sister. Guards, safe house. New identities if necessary. But I will not ask you to tie your life to mine. You deserve better than that. The words should have been a relief. Sophia should have felt grateful that he was offering her an out, that he was respecting her autonomy. Instead, she felt something unexpected. Curiosity. Because the way he'd said, "You deserve better than that," suggested that he believed he was the worse option, that being tied to him was somehow a punishment. "Why did you search for me?" she asked suddenly. "Search for months. Why? After I saved you in the alley. You said you." Vincent looked surprised by the question. "I told you. I owed you a debt." "No. That's not all of it. I can see it in your face. There's something else." He was quiet for a long moment, his jaw working like he was chewing on words he didn't want to say. Finally he spoke. "You stayed with me while I was unconscious. Before the ambulance came. You held pressure on my wounds. You talked to me. Do you remember what you said?" Sophia tried to think back to that night, to the scared minutes in that dark alley with a dying stranger. "I don't know. I was probably just trying to keep you conscious. Babbling nonsense. You told me about your mother." Vincent's voice was soft now, so different from the hard edges he'd shown before. "You told me she died when you were young. That she used to say people are either the kind who walk toward trouble to help, or the kind who walk away. And she raised you to walk toward trouble." He paused. "You said, I don't know if you can hear me, but you need to keep fighting. Because somewhere, someone is waiting for you to come home. Someone needs you to be okay." And I remember thinking, even through the pain, even while I was dying, I remember thinking that I wanted to meet the person who would say those things to a stranger, who would believe so strongly that every life matters. Sophia felt tears spilling down her cheeks now and didn't bother to wipe them away. She didn't remember saying those specific words, but they sounded like something she would say, something her mother would have said. "And did you? Did someone need you to come home?" "My grandmother." Vincent glanced at Margaret, who was watching them both with an expression of satisfaction. "She is the only family I have left, the only person who remembers me before I became this." He gestured to himself, to the tattoos and the expensive clothes and the aura of danger. "So yes, someone needed me to come home. Because of you." The apartment fell silent except for the rain against the windows. Sophia stood there soaked, uniform still clinging to her body, scraped palms stinging, exhaustion dragging at her bones, and tried to make sense of the impossible choice in front of her. Marriage to a stranger who controlled criminal enterprises, or life on the run with her sister, always looking over their shoulders, always waiting for the red phoenix to find them. "Can I think about it?" she finally asked. "Me decide right now. Can you give me time to process this without making?" "You can have until morning," Vincent said. "The doctor needs to check your injuries. Mrs. Park will show you to a guest room. There are clothes, toiletries, everything you need. Try to rest. We'll talk again when you are not in shock." Sophia nodded numbly. An older Korean woman appeared as if summoned and gestured for Sophia to follow her. As she walked away from Vincent and Margaret, she heard them begin arguing in Korean, their voices low and intense. She caught Vincent's name and her own, and words that sounded angry, worried, desperate. The guest room was larger than her entire apartment, with a bed that looked like a cloud and a bathroom that belonged in a luxury hotel. Mrs. Park laid out clothes on the bed and pantomimed taking a shower, her kind face creased with concern. Sophia thanked her in a whisper and waited until she was alone before collapsing onto the floor and finally letting herself cry. She cried for her mother who'd died too young and left her to navigate this impossible world. She cried for Maya, who deserved a normal childhood instead of a sister who kept stumbling into danger. She cried for herself, for the nursing career she'd had to abandon, for the simple life that had been hard but at least had been hers. And she cried for the man in the other room who searched for months to repay a kindness, who looked at her like she was something precious and dangerous in equal measure, who carried the weight of violence on his skin but remembered her words in his darkest moment. When the tears finally stopped, Sophia pulled herself up and looked at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Her uniform was destroyed. Her hair was a mess. Her face was streaked with tears and rain, and probably some blood that wasn't hers. She looked like she'd been through a va. Maybe she had been. She thought about her mother's words, the ones Vincent had remembered. People are either the kind who walk toward trouble to help, or the kind who walk away. Sophia had always walked toward trouble, had always chosen to help even when it cost her. And maybe that meant this choice wasn't really a choice at all. Maybe she'd made it the moment she'd dropped to the ground and created an opening for Margaret to escape. Maybe she'd made it 3 months ago in that alley when she'd held a dying stranger and told him someone was waiting for him to come home. Or maybe she'd made it even earlier, the day her mother died and Sophia had decided that the world was cruel, but that didn't mean she had to be cruel too. She showered, washing away the night's violence, and changed into the clothes Mrs. Park had left. They fit perfectly, which should have been creepy but somehow wasn't. Vincent had known her size the same way he'd known everything else about her. He'd been watching, waiting, trying to figure out how to repay a debt she'd never asked for. Sophia walked back out to the living room and found Vincent standing alone by the windows, silhouetted against the city lights. He turned when he heard her footsteps, and something in his expression shifted when he saw her clean and dressed in clothes that actually fit. "Where's your grandmother?" Sophia asked. "Resting. Doctor's orders." He studied her face. "You should be resting too." "I can't sleep. I keep thinking about everything." "I understand." They stood there in silence for a moment, and Sophia realized this was probably the first time they'd been alone together. Really alone, without his grandmother or guards or the chaos of violence swirling around them. He looked different in this quiet moment. Less dangerous. More human. "Tell me about the tattoos," she said suddenly. Vincent's hand went to his neck instinctively. "They are not decorative." "I figured. What do they mean?" "Each one represents a choice I made, a line I crossed. They are a map of everything I have done to protect my family and our business." "Do you regret them?" He considered the question. Grandmother alive. He moved closer. "I regret the necessity of them. I do not regret keeping my. Do they frighten you?" "Yes," Sophia admitted. "But not because of what they look like. Because of what they represent. Because they remind me that you live in a world I don't understand. You understand more than you think. You understand loyalty, sacrifice, the cost of protection." Vincent stopped a few feet away from her. "Those are the same things my tattoos represent. We are not so different, you and I. We're very different. I save lives. You." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "You have to do." "You do what? Is that so different?" His voice was soft. "You work 3 jobs that destroy your body because you have to keep your sister fed and housed. You drop out of college because you have to take care of family. You walk into danger because you have to help people suffering. All of these things damage you. All of them cost you. But you do them anyway because the alternative is unacceptable." Sophia hadn't thought about it that way before. "I never hurt anyone to survive." "No. You only hurt yourself." Vincent reached out slowly, telegraphing the movement, and touched one of the bandages on her palm where she'd scraped it diving to the pavement. "These wounds. The burns on your arms from the diner. The exhaustion in your eyes. You are covered in the evidence of your choices just like I am. The only difference is your scars are physical where mine are ink." His touch was gentle, reverent almost, and Sophia felt something shift in her chest. This man who commanded criminals and made people disappear was holding her injured hand like it was made of glass. The contradiction made her dizzy. "If I say yes," she said quietly, "if I agree to this marriage, what would it actually mean? How would it work?" Vincent's eyes searched her face. "Are you saying yes?" "I'm asking questions. Answer them." He nodded slowly. "It would be a legal marriage. Papers filed, ceremony performed, binding in every way. to the outside world, to our enemies, to everyone who might threaten you. You would be my wife. Untouchable. Protected by laws older and more powerful than anything written in government books. And in private? What would you expect from me? Nothing you are not willing to give. His voice was firm. I would not touch you. Would not demand anything of you. We would live together, yes, because appearances matter. But you would have your own space. Your own life. Your sister would move in with us, would have the best schools, the best protection. You could finish your nursing degree. I would make sure of it. Why would you do all of that? What do you get out of this? Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Grandmother believes I need someone who sees me as human. She thinks I have forgotten how to be anything other than a weapon. Perhaps she is right. Perhaps having you here, having someone who chose kindness even in chaos, perhaps that would remind me of who I was before I became this. That's a lot of pressure to put on a stranger. Yes. Which is why I will not force this. The choice is yours, Sophia. It has always been yours. Sophia looked at this complicated man who held her hand so carefully despite the violence written on his skin. She thought about Maya growing up safe and educated. He thought about finishing her nursing degree, about saving lives the way she'd always wanted to. She thought about her mother's voice telling her to walk toward trouble, to help even when it cost her. And she thought about the way Vincent had remembered her words in his darkest moment, had searched for months to find her, had looked at her like she was something miraculous instead of just a broke waitress with scraped palms and impossible choices. Okay. She heard herself say, I'll do it. I'll marry you. Vincent's expression didn't change, but Sophia saw his grip on her hand tighten fractionally, saw something flash through his dark eyes that might have been relief or fear or both. You are certain? Once this is done, there is no simple way to undo it. Not without putting you back in danger. I'm not certain about anything, Sophia said honestly, but I'm certain that running won't keep Maya safe. I'm certain that I don't have better options. And I'm certain that you've kept your word. So far, which is more than I can say for most people in my life. He released her hand slowly, like he was afraid sudden movement might spook her. Then we will do this properly. Tomorrow, we will handle the legal paperwork. The ceremony will be small, private, just what is necessary to make it official. And then, he paused. Then we will announce it to the relevant parties. Let the Red Phoenix know that you are under my protection. That you are family. How long do I have before my entire life changes? Your life has already changed. His voice was gentle but firm. The moment you helped my grandmother, everything shifted. We are simply making official what already exists. Sophia wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the warmth of the penthouse. Need to tell Maya something. She can't just wake up and find out her sister got married overnight to someone she's never mentioned. What will you tell her? The truth? Or a version of it? Sophia moved to the window, looked out at the city that had seemed so familiar just hours ago. That I met someone who can help us, who can give us a life we couldn't have otherwise. That I'm doing this for both of us. She will have questions. Maya always has questions. She's too smart for her own good. Sophia's voice cracked slightly. She's going to know something is wrong. She always knows when I'm scared. Vincent came to stand beside her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body but not touching. Then do not lie to her about being scared. Children respect honesty more than false confidence. Tell her you are frightened, but that you trust me to keep both of you safe. And then, he hesitated. Then introduce us properly. Let her see that I am not a monster. Sophia glanced at him. Are you a monster? Most people would say yes. He met her gaze steadily. I have done things that would give you nightmares. I have made choices that haunt me. I have blood on my hands that no amount of expensive soap will wash away. He turned to face her fully. But I have never harmed someone who did not threaten my family first. I have never taken joy in violence. And I have never broken a promise to someone under my protection. That will have to be enough. It's not exactly a ringing endorsement. I am not asking you to love me, Sophia. I am asking you to trust that I will do what I say. That when I promise your safety and your sister's safety, I mean it with everything I am. The sincerity in his voice was almost harder to bear than the coldness from earlier. Sophia found herself nodding, accepting words she probably shouldn't accept, trusting a man she had every reason to fear. But something in her gut, the same instinct that had made her save his life twice, told her he was telling the truth. The door opened and Margaret appeared, looking significantly better despite the late hour and the gunshot wound. She took in the scene, Sophia and Vincent standing by the window in quiet conversation, and smiled with unmistakable satisfaction. So, you have decided? She has agreed. Vincent confirmed, his tone carefully neutral, like he was discussing a business transaction instead of a marriage. Good. Margaret moved into the room with the confidence of someone used to getting her way. Then we must move quickly. I will contact Judge Morrison in the morning. He owes our family several favors and will expedite the paperwork. Vincent, you will need to retrieve Sophia's identification documents from her apartment. And we must prepare a statement for the other families. Other families? Sophia asked. There are 5 major organizations that control different territories in this city. Margaret explained. The Huang family, which is us. The Red Phoenix Syndicate. The Kozlov Bratva from Russia. The Juarez Cartel. And the Yakuza. We maintain peace through mutual understanding and strict protocols. When something significant happens, such as a marriage between families, it must be announced properly, respectfully. So, you're going to announce to 4 different criminal organizations that I'm married to Vincent. And they'll just accept it. They will accept it because they must. Margaret's voice was steel wrapped in silk. To do otherwise would be to break ancient agreements. And while we all push boundaries, none of us are foolish enough to shatter the peace entirely. This city would burn. Sophia's head was spinning. She'd gone from worrying about making rent to being a pawn in some kind of criminal détente. This is insane. All of this is completely insane. Yes, Margaret agreed calmly. But it is also reality. And you are strong enough to handle it. I know this because you have been handling impossible situations your entire life. This is simply one more. Before Sophia could respond, her borrowed phone buzzed. She pulled it out and saw a text from an unknown number, just 2 words that made her blood run cold. We know. Asterisk. Vincent was beside her instantly, taking the phone, his expression darkening as he read the message. He barked something in Korean, and immediately 3 men appeared from doorways. Sophia hadn't even noticed, all of them armed, all of them moving with lethal efficiency. What does it mean? Sophia's voice came out small. Who knows what? The Red Phoenix. Vincent was typing rapidly on his own phone, issuing orders. They know you are here. They know you are with us. And they are making sure we understand that you are not safe just because you are in my home. But you said you have security. How did they? They are sending a message, showing that they can reach you anywhere. His jaw was tight. This changes nothing. We proceed as planned. But we move faster. Faster how? The marriage happens tonight. Right now. Vincent turned to his grandmother. Contact Judge Morrison. Tell him it is an emergency. I do not care what he is doing or what time it is. He comes now or he will have bigger problems than being woken at 3 in the morning. Margaret was already dialing, speaking in rapid Korean as she walked away. Vincent turned back to Sophia, and for the first time since they'd met, she saw genuine worry in his eyes. Not for himself, but for her. I am sorry, he said quietly. Have forced our hand. I wanted to give you time. Wanted to let you process this. But they. So we're really doing this. Tonight. In the next few hours, I'm going to be married. Yes. Unless you have changed your mind. I would understand if. No. Sophia surprised herself with the firmness in her voice. Let's make it official before they can hurt anyone else I love. No, if we're doing this, let's do it. Something shifted in Vincent's expression, softened in a way that transformed his face from dangerous to devastating. Anyone else you love? Sophia felt heat creep up her neck. I meant Maya. I meant my sister. Of course. But there was something in his voice that suggested he'd heard what she hadn't meant to reveal, that in the space of a few hours, she'd started to care about these people who'd crashed into her life. About the grandmother who saw something valuable in a broke waitress. About the grandson who remembered her words in his darkest moment. Judge Morrison arrived 47 minutes later, rumpled and annoyed and clutching a briefcase like it was a shield. He was a thin man in his 60s with sharp eyes that took in the situation immediately and decided not to ask questions he didn't want answered. This is highly irregular, he said, setting up documents on the dining table. Require waiting periods. Background checks. There are procedures. Marriage licenses. And you have the authority to waive those procedures in emergency circumstances. Margaret said smoothly, sliding an envelope across the table. This is an emergency, Judge Morrison. We are protecting a young woman's life. The judge glanced at Sophia, took in her scraped palms and the exhaustion written on her face, and something in his expression softened. Are you entering this marriage of your own free will, Miss Chun? Sophia thought about the text message. About Maya sleeping in their apartment while men with guns circled like sharks. About the choices that weren't really choices, about walking toward trouble because that's what her mother had taught her to do. Yes, she said. I am. And you understand this is a legally binding contract? That you will be bound to Mr. Huang in all matters legal and financial. I understand. The judge looked at Vincent. And you, Mr. Huang? You enter this marriage freely. Ido. Vincent's voice was steady, certain, like he'd been preparing for this moment instead of having it sprung on him in the middle of the night. Then let us proceed. Judge Morrison opened his briefcase and began laying out forms. Need identification from both parties. Birth certificates if available. And 2 witnesses. I will, Mrs. Park appeared with Sophia's purse, which she must have retrieved from the diner at some point. Sophia pulled out her worn driver's license and social security card, the only proof she existed in the world's bureaucratic eyes. Vincent produced a passport and other documents from a folder that looked like it had been prepared in advance. Margaret and the judge's assistant served as witnesses. The ceremony itself was brutally efficient, stripped of any romance or sentiment. Just legal language and signatures and the cold reality of 2 strangers binding their lives together for survival. Do you, Vincent Huang, take Sophia Chen to be your lawfully wedded wife? Ido. And do you, Sophia Chen, take Vincent Huang to be your lawfully wedded husband? Sophia looked at this man who would now be her husband. This beautiful, dangerous stranger who held her hand like it was precious, who had searched months to repay a kindness, who carried violence on his skin but gentleness in his touch. She thought about her mother's voice, about walking toward trouble, about choosing to help even when it cost everything. Ido. Then by the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Judge Morrison closed his folder with a snap. Congratulations. You may kiss the bride if you wish. Though given the circumstances, perhaps. No kiss. Vincent said quickly, his eyes on Sophia. Something. We will save that for when it means. The words landed strangely, intimate despite the clinical setting. Sophia felt her cheeks heat and looked away, suddenly aware that she was married, that this man was now her husband in every legal sense, that her life had just been permanently altered by signatures on paper. Judge Morrison packed up his things, accepted another envelope from Margaret, and left with his assistant. The sky outside was beginning to lighten, the darkness giving way to gray dawn. Sophia had been awake for over 24 hours and felt every second of it in her bones. You should rest, Vincent said, but before Sophia could respond, her phone buzzed again. This time it was Maya, calling frantically. Soph. Soph, there are men outside our building. Like, a lot of men. And they have guns. I can see them from the window and I'm scared and I don't know what to do, Anne. Maya, listen to me. Sophia kept her voice calm even as panic clawed at her chest. Those are Vincent's men. They're there to protect you. I need you to pack a bag. Clothes for a week. Your schoolwork. Anything important. They're going to bring you somewhere safe. What? No, I'm not going anywhere with strange men with guns. Soph, what's happening? Why are there? I'll explain everything when you get here. Just trust me. Please, baby girl. I need you to trust me. There was a long pause. Are you okay? Are you safe? I'm safe. I promise. And you will be too. But you need to pack and you need to do it now. Vincent had already grabbed his phone and was giving orders in Korean. Sophia heard the word sister, and careful and immediate. Maya was crying now, soft scared sounds that broke Sophia's heart. I don't understand what's happening. I know and I'm sorry. But I need you to be brave for me. Can you do that? Can you be brave? Okay, I'll pack. The call ended. Sophia stood there with the phone pressed to her ear even though the line was dead, trying not to collapse under the weight of what she'd just done. She'd married a man she didn't know. She'd pulled her sister into a world of violence and danger. She'd burned her old life to the ground and all she had to stand on were promises from people who made their living in shadows. She will be safe. Vincent's hands settled on her shoulder, warm and steady. I have my best people bringing her here. They will treat her with respect, with care. She will not be frightened. She's already frightened. I'm frightened. I know. He turned her gently to face him. But fear does not mean you made the wrong choice. It just means you are human. And being human is not weakness. Sophia looked up at this man who was now her husband, and saw something in his eyes that looked almost like understanding, like he knew what it cost to make impossible choices, to sacrifice pieces of yourself for the people you loved, to walk into darkness hoping there was light on the other side. What happens now? She asked. Now we wait for your sister. We let you both rest. And tomorrow we make the announcement to the other families. We show the Red Phoenix that you are untouchable, that any move against you is a move against me, against us, against the entire structure that keeps this city from tearing itself apart. And if they don't care? If they decide you're worth destroying even if it means war? Vincent's smile was cold and sharp. Then we remind them why the Huang family has held power for 3 generations. Why my grandfather built this empire. Why my father died defending it. And why I will burn their entire organization to ash before I let them harm what is mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have been frightening. Instead, Sophia felt something else. Something that might have been safety, or might have been the beginning of something more dangerous than anything else that had happened tonight. She was saved from examining that feeling by the arrival of Maya, who burst through the door, with 2 of Vincent's men flanking her protectively. Her sister looked terrified and furious in equal measure, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her eyes scanning the penthouse before landing on Sophia. What the hell is going on? Maya demanded, then stopped short when she saw Vincent standing close to Sophia, saw the way his hand was still on Sophia's shoulder. Who are you? Maya, this is Vincent Huang. Sophia stepped forward, putting herself between her sister and the man who was now her husband. He's where something happened tonight and I need you to listen very carefully. She explained it as simply as she could. The woman in danger. The men with guns. The choice she'd made to keep them both safe. She didn't mention marriage, not yet, couldn't bring herself to drop that particular bomb when Maya was already looking at her like she'd lost her mind. But Maya was smart. Too smart. Her eyes went to Vincent, then back to Sophia, then down to Sophia's left hand where a ring now sat, a simple platinum band that Mrs. Park had produced from somewhere during the ceremony. You're married. Maya's voice was flat, shocked. You got married. To him. Tonight. Yes. Are you insane? Are you literally insane? You don't even know him. Saf, what were you thinking? I was thinking about keeping you alive. Sophia's voice cracked. I was thinking about men with guns who wanted to hurt us because I helped someone. I was thinking that this was the only way to make sure you're safe. Maya's anger deflated like a punctured balloon, leaving only fear. Danger. This isn't one of your paranoid moments. So we're in danger. Real. No. This is real. Sophia pulled her sister into a hug, holding tight even when Maya tried to pull away. But Vincent is going to protect us. Both of us. We're going to be okay. You can't promise that. No. Vincent said, speaking directly to Maya for the first time. She cannot. But I can. I promise. You, Maya-chan, that no harm will come to you or your sister while I draw breath. You have my word. Maya looked at him skeptically. And what's the word of what are you? Mafia? Gangster? The word of someone who understands what it means to protect family. Vincent's voice was steady. Your sister saved my grandmother's life tonight. In my culture, in my world, that creates a debt. And I always pay my debts. By marrying her? That's how you pay debts. By making sure she is untouchable. By giving her protections that go beyond guards and locks. By making her family in the only way that matters in the world I inhabit. He paused. I did not trap your sister. She chose this. Perhaps not happily. Perhaps not ideally. But she chose it. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure she does not regret it. The words hung in the air, heavy with promise. Maya looked between them, reading things Sophia probably didn't want her to see, understanding passing behind her 14-year-old eyes that was too old, too jaded for someone who should still believe in fairy tales. Okay, Maya said finally. Okay, I don't like this. I don't understand this. But Saf wouldn't do something this crazy unless she had to. So, I'm trusting you. Both of you. But if anything happens to her, if you hurt her, I will find a way to make you regret it. Vincent's lips twitched, almost a smile. Brave when you should be cautious. I believe you would. You are very much like your sister. Mrs. Park appeared and began ushering Maya toward a bedroom, speaking in soothing tones. Even though Maya probably couldn't understand Korean. Sophia watched her sister disappear down the hallway, saw the exhaustion in every line of her young body, and felt the weight of responsibility settle even heavier on her shoulders. She will adjust, Vincent said quietly. Children are remarkably resilient. She shouldn't have to adjust to this. She should be worried about homework and boys and normal teenage things. Yes, but the world is rarely what it should be. He moved toward the windows as dawn broke. Fully over the city, painting everything gold and pink. My father used to say that we do not choose our circumstances, only how we respond to them. Your sister will learn this lesson earlier than most. It will make her strong. Or it will break her. No. Vincent turned back to her, certainty in his voice. She has you. That means she will never break. Just like you never broke. Even when your mother died and left you to raise a child while still a child yourself. Sophia felt tears burning again, but refused to let them fall. She'd cried enough tonight. You know I didn't break? Maybe I'm just good at pretending. How do? Because broken people do not throw coffee at armed men to save strangers. Broken people do not dive to the ground to create openings for escape. Broken people do not marry dangerous men to protect their sisters. He crossed the distance between them. You are bent, Sophia. Scarred. Exhausted. But not broken. Never broken. He said it like truth, like prophecy, like if he believed it hard enough it would become real. And, standing there in the dawn light, married to a stranger, her sister sleeping in the next room, her entire life transformed beyond recognition, Sophia found herself wanting to believe him. What happens tomorrow? She asked. After you make your announcement? Tomorrow we begin the work of building a life together. Not the life either of us imagined. But perhaps something better. Something real. Vincent reached out slowly and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture so tender it made Sophia's breath catch. You saved my life twice, Sophia Huang. The least I can do is give you a reason to believe that life is worth saving. The use of her new name, the promise in his words, the gentle touch that contradicted everything she thought she knew about men like him. It all combined to create a moment that felt suspended outside of time. Like the universe was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Sophia looked at this man who was now her husband. This complicated, dangerous, beautiful stranger who spoke of honor and debt and protection like they were sacred things. And she made another choice, one that terrified her even more than agreeing to marriage. She chose to hope. Okay, she whispered. Show me that this can be something other than survival. Vincent's smile was small but genuine, transforming his face from cold and calculating to achingly human. That wife is a promise I will keep. He led her to a bedroom that would be hers, pointed out where Maya would sleep just next door, explained the security features that would keep them safe. And as the sun rose fully over the city, Sophia Chun, now Sophia Huang, finally let herself rest. Not because she felt safe, not because she understood what she'd gotten herself into, but because for the first time in years, someone else was carrying part of the weight. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. Outside the penthouse, the city woke to a new day. And in the shadows, in the underground networks where power was currency and violence was language, word began to spread. The Huang heir had married a nobody, a waitress, a black woman with no connections, no power, no reason to matter. Except she'd saved his grandmother's life. And in Vincent Huang's world, that made her everything. The Red Phoenix Syndicate received the news with cold fury. The other families received it with cautious interest. And in apartments and office buildings and dark alleys across the city, people began to whisper about the woman who'd walked into danger and emerged as royalty. Sophia Chen's old life had ended the moment she'd thrown that coffee. Her new life was just beginning, and neither she nor Vincent had any idea just how much blood would be spilled before it was over.